Welcome to Stellar Cycles, a podcast dedicated to showing each woman her intrinsic power to guide her life, her cycle, her relationships, and her dreams. I cover feminine energy, reproductive health, and all things related to being a potent and magical being that is woman. I'm your host, Alina, and today our topic is breaking DNA patterns through personal choices. So today I have a guest on, Andrea Wadsworth. She's a model, artist, and creator based here in San Diego. And our goal in this episode is to talk about how certain choices and lifestyles that have perpetuated within our families can pose a threat to our individual health. But the choice is ours. It can be a really, really difficult thing to be the one in your family to actively choose to break generational cycles and choose to do things differently. So this interview with Andrea really talks about that, especially with alcoholism in her family and the things that led her to decide to be sober. Just a reminder that, yes, we can be predisposed to certain behaviors and choices and lifestyles that kind of come with our DNA and are hereditary to us. But rather than just going with that and saying, this is how I am, it can be really empowering to take a look at it and be like, no, I'm going to be the one to change this. I'm not going to continue this for my children and my future family. So that's what our episode is going to be about. But let me just go into some current updates about me before we get started. So this week I got my day 21 testing done again to check my hormones. Last time I did it was back in May, and everything was pretty much normal except for just one value, was the DHEA. And I believe that has something to do with stress or adrenals. So we just wanted to check now, 6 months down the line, to see how that number is doing. Has it gone up? Has it gone down? What are we going to do about it? So yeah, what was really great was the phlebotomist actually came to my house, did my blood draw here in my kitchen, was in and out in like 5 minutes, and I will be getting my results soon and going over them with my Parsley practitioner. And Parsley, for those of you who don't know, it's an online program and it's holistic doctors. They're able to make prescriptions too if you need that, but most of their approach is integrative medicine and holistic. And well, it's Scorpio season. It has me desiring to disappear from social media completely, but Stellar Cycles keeps me going. I really love making the content for you guys, little food reels or little snippets of lifestyle that you guys can apply to your lives. I try to make the content as useful as possible. So all of your feedback has been so amazing to receive, especially in the prior episodes. It really seems like you guys are enjoying them. So thank you so much for that. Another thing, I don't know if I mentioned previously, but our YouTube page is up. So you can find us on YouTube at Stellar Cycles Podcast. And we already have one interview up with Jessa about loving your period, with the lady who has her own practice built around helping women work through their cramps and just get to a place where their cycle isn't debilitating to their lives. So check out our YouTube page. Let's grow our little following on there. And finally, I'm very, very excited because this weekend, me and Sam are going to Portland. We are going to the Travis Scott concert. The baby dog will be with her grandparents, which she loves them and loves their place. So it's going to be a fun little weekend for her as well. So I'm just really, really stoked to see my brothers again, see my cousin and his wife, and we're all going to the concert together. So it'll be amazing. Just trying to get Sam prepared for the Portland weather, which is not the 80 degrees that we see every day in San Diego here. So yeah, let's get into this episode with Andrea. She is a model, artist, and creator based here in San Diego, more specifically Carlsbad and Sanitas area. And I actually know her because my brother, shout out Danny, he doesn't listen to this podcast, but he told me to follow you because he's like, hey, there's this girl that just moved from Coeur d'Alene to San Diego, so you should link up with her. And I was like, ugh, Danny, you're always suggesting me these types of things. But honestly, I have to credit him because he has linked me up with some really cool girls. So something has come of it from him being just an Instagram follower. Mm-hmm. And yeah. So I remember checking out your page and was like, wow, she has a really cool vibe to her. And then just kind of following you for a little bit. And then I don't know, how did we decide to meet up?
So super crazy. I feel like it was such divine timing because you were posting on your story about how you had to be on antibiotics for over a month or around that area. And the same exact thing happened to me recently. And I was like, okay, I'm not going through this alone. So, and I think a lot of people are dealing with sickness right now. And so I reached out to you and I kept on just feeling obligated to reply to your stories. And, you know, I saw your profile too. And I was like, this girl looks really cool. And she just looks like a good person. And so, yeah, I just went through something so intense where I was so confused about what was going on with my health, and just to find someone that went through something, you know, like getting anxiety from taking antibiotics for a whole month that you never had. I reached out to you and I was like, this is divine timing because now we can meet up and talk about it.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't remember or are listening for the first time, I was going through my ear infection, which thought was just a regular ear infection, prescribed me a bunch of antibiotics, and then come to find out it was a fungal infection.
Exactly.
So the antibiotics were killing off all the good bacteria that my body needed. So yeah, I was definitely posting about that because I was just so tired of dealing with it for over a month. I'm still kind of dealing with it though.
Yeah.
So
and me too.
Still not over. Yeah. So you reached out and you're like, yo, this thing has been going on with me. And the thing that really caught my attention about your message was that it was related to birth control too.
Yeah, and the day I reached out to you, I was on my way to go get my birth control out.
We will get into that, but first I kind of want to touch base on the fact that we're literally from the same area. I love connecting with people down here that are from Washington, Idaho, Oregon even, because truly all the different parts of the United States are so unique and different, and it's just nice to have a little piece of home when you're in a different area, you know? So do you want to talk a little bit about growing up in Idaho?
I grew up in a really small town called Pinehurst, Idaho. At the time, there was 1,500 people living there. I'm not really sure how it is right now, but yeah, it was very beautiful. I grew up in a really lovely home on the edge of town. We had horses in our backyard. But I always felt like I didn't really belong there. I just always was so infatuated with California, and yeah, I feel like I didn't really fit into school. You know, I tried as much as I could to fit in, and it just never seemed to work out.
Yeah.
I would, you know, for lunch during high school, I would go in the bathrooms and eat my lunch, and it was just a really hard time for me. And I also had family issues and just going through so much. I feel like I had such an intense upbringing. And I did a lot of it to myself too. I was kind of a rebellious kid, but I'm really grateful for that because it made me grow up quickly. So I went to University of Idaho. I was able to reestablish my reputation and just start my life. And also moving to California was like a brand new slate for me too. And it's just a beautiful place to just grow and create your life.
I feel like that's the worst thing about growing up is feeling like you don't fit in, but then you grow up and you're actually seeing how unique everybody is meant to be. And the people who did fit in back then aren't exactly doing outstanding things currently.
So true.
Right? So it's like,
true.
In retrospect, you're really grateful for that, for like being the weirdo that didn't have friends, because it kind of made you focus on other things, you know?
100%. And it kind of forced me to be kind of a nerd in something that, you know, for example, I would come home and my family life wasn't always really great. So I would go straight to the basement and I would just paint for hours. Or I would stay after school. I had a really great relationship with my art teacher and we would just do ceramics for hours. And it was something that I could work on. And I was making it with my own hands and it made me feel accomplished. Like, wow, I created that. So that's when I've always loved art, but that's when I really fell in love with art.
Yeah, I think anything that you can do manually with your hands will take your mind off a plethora of things, you know, no matter what you have going on in your life. That seemed to be a really good escape for you as a kid.
Yeah, then in college, I feel like I had such a fun time. And it was also, I got a 2.8 in high school. I felt like graduating college was such a stretch for me. So the first semester that I went to college, I got a 1.63 GPA.
Okay.
So what does that mean? You just weren't going to class, weren't submitting your assignments?
I was drinking. I was just being irresponsible. I was taking classes that were hard for me because I'm not really a huge math person. And I had a boyfriend. I kind of was just partying a lot and I just didn't really care. And then life slapped me in the face. Like, either you're going to go back and live with your parents or you're going to stay here and figure this out. And so I got really lucky. The guy I was dating at the time, his mom was a professor at U of I, and she called them and was like, give her a chance. And so I took that, and then I graduated with a 3.8.
You're in college?
Advertising, and I minored in marketing and art.
Okay.
So it was a good little blend of
mix,
everything. Yeah. I started modeling in college too. It was a little bit professional and a little bit just for fun, but it was something that I really just enjoyed. But yeah, and I had an internship throughout college, and I ended college with a job. I had a lot of fun. I felt like I really stepped into myself and gained a lot of confidence in college. And I don't think college is necessary for everyone, but for me and my story, I needed it to just get grounded and become an adult.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background, specifically about the alcoholism in your family and what that was like growing up?
One thing with college that I found myself fall into was drinking. And that's a pattern in my family, a very strong pattern in my family on my dad's side. And so I actually graduated college and I didn't want to drink anymore. I was really over it by my senior year. And I moved in with my dad, and how it really destroys relationships and it keeps you in a loop. It's a loop that you can't escape. And what alcohol does is it numbs you to the emotions that you have to feel. And I'm all for, if you want to have a glass of wine or if you want to go have a fun night, go ahead, even if it's, you want to go get drunk, cool. But when it becomes a pattern and you're escaping life, or it just creeps up on you sometimes too. So that's what happened to me, is it started creeping up on me. I would go to the store and get groceries, buy a bottle of wine and just have it with dinner, and that can get really tricky. You can end up getting drunk a lot more than you think.
And the human body is truly so tolerant of everything that we put into it that it slowly ups and ups the tolerance, and you don't even realize how much it takes, and then people end up literally drinking themselves away.
Absolutely. And the thing about alcohol is it's deceiving. It basically puts a mask on you where you don't know that you're drinking. You don't even realize it. And for me, it was one of my friends. She says, I'm worried about you. She goes, I am worried about your vices. I think that you just have to be really careful, especially you, because your family history. And so,
What caused you to start gearing towards change? What was the moment where you were like, oh, I need to do something different in my life?
So I basically moved in with my dad, and then I was working for an advertising agency, going to Coeur d'Alene, which I loved at the time. I was around really amazing people. And then I actually went to Vegas to Life is Beautiful. The season changed when I was gone. I came back and was like, whoa, okay. And then it started getting really cold out, and I had one of the hardest winters that I've had in a long time, my senior year. And that coldness kind of just brought me back to that. And I was like, I need to do something. I don't belong here anymore. I didn't understand what was going on. So I just was trying to get really clear. And I went for a jog, and I was like, I need to move to San Diego.
Had you been down here before then?
Yeah. So I visited San Diego when I was a sophomore in college. I went with a boyfriend at the time, and I just came here and was like, this place is heaven on earth. It's beautiful, and the people are nice, and everyone's friendly.
You always have good weather for the most
good
part.
opportunity. So then I decided to move here and start my life, and I don't regret it at all. Yeah, it's been amazing, and it's been 2 years since I moved here yesterday. So 2 years in San Diego. It's not all rainbows and butterflies. Like, you're going to get towed maybe, or you're going to experience some adversity in work and in life.
Or just simply the sheer competition of millions of people trying to live in the same place as you and trying to get things done or, you know, living comfortably. You definitely feel it a lot more than I feel like back home.
Yeah, and I moved right by the border and I didn't know anybody. And I was so used to having such a strong community in college and in Coeur d'Alene. But then I started meeting people, and as soon as I moved to Encinitas, that's when I just met my friends and everybody.
Yeah, so take us through the move. You moved down here from Coeur d'Alene, but since then you've been here for 2 years and you've lived in several parts of San Diego. So kind of where did you start, where you ended up now?
So I was living, it wasn't Chula Vista, but it was still San Diego, but it was south, really far south. I could see the border from my house. And during that time, I just adventured. I went to PB all the time, went to Ocean Beach around La Jolla, and I just kind of spent days there. And my friends would live in, you know, South Park, and I would go to their house, and I just experienced that. And then I moved to Encinitas, and that's actually really when my modeling career kicked off. I shot with one person, and it just snowballed from there. It was just, you know, one after the next. And then I was still having a lot of fun during that time. But on my birthday last year, something hit me, and I was like, you know what, I'm done drinking. And so...
And when is your birthday?
January 28th.
Okay.
So, yeah, just bad things were happening when I was going out. And I was like, you know, I just don't want to be like... I want to break the chain in my family, so...
Was it things that were forcing you to be like, oh, I need to be more aware when I'm out or things like that?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's exactly...
It's not a safe world out here for women.
No. Yeah.
It just isn't.
So, yeah, there was times where I didn't feel safe, and I was like, if my friends weren't there, I don't know what would have happened. And that's just not something I want to do or be around. And so I quit drinking last January. Not fully, but I went sober for 1 month, and then I got signed to an agency after month 1. And then I actually really healed my relationship with alcohol. I could just have a glass of wine without wanting more. And then I just became a lot more healthy. Recently, I actually started having this health problem. And I wasn't drinking, and thank God, because it would have been so hard to stop everything at once. Yeah. I think it's kind of a weird thing how sometimes when you have unhealthy habits like drinking and just eating a bunch of food on the weekends and all that, once you stop that, I think your body's like shifts and it goes, whoa, what is this? And so what happened for me, especially, I noticed that when I graduated and started working at that advertising agency, I kind of quit drinking there for a little bit. And I noticed I would go to work and get really tired, just so tired around 2 o'clock, deadly tired. I'd have to go to my freaking car sometimes and go take a nap. I'm not kidding. Yeah. And my coworker, he went to the Czech Institute here in San Diego, actually. And he goes, you have leaky gut. I can tell, because you get tired at this time of day, or, you know, you're experiencing this brain fog and confusion. And so I noticed that too, and I was like, this is so weird, because why didn't I feel like this in college? And so then I was fine. I kind of healed myself. I think moving to San Diego kind of healed me a little bit too. And then I recently just started feeling really weird and in my stomach area, and like I would have really bad joint pain, and it felt like I was getting an infection, and I was really confused because I've had UTIs before and it didn't feel like a UTI. Yeah. So I was really confused, but I went to bed one night and I was like, okay, I'll be fine. I went to bed one night and I was like, I'm not okay. I feel like I'm dying. I was like, what is this? This is super weird. I woke up in the morning, my face was swollen, my stomach was swollen, my joints hurt. I was so confused, like, what is this? And so I go to the doctor and they're like, oh, you have a UTI. Okay. And prescribe me antibiotics. Okay. And I take them. It made me feel better at first because I did have an infection. And then I stopped taking them. And those antibiotics drained me. They drained my energy. They made me dehydrated. It was terrible. They messed up my hormones really bad. And so...
What did they help with? Did they make the swelling go down, or did they just overall just make everything worse?
So I've had UTIs before where it actually feels like you're dying. You're like, I'm going to text my family right now and just say... I'm not okay. So that's how I was feeling. I was like, I definitely have an infection. And so antibiotics immediately, they helped me feel better. But then it just instantly came back. As soon as I was done with the round, it came back. And they were like, oh, it's because we gave you these that just kill it off. But
here's some more.
Yeah, it basically kills off, but it doesn't kill them.
Yeah.
So then they gave me a higher dosage that kills them, which is also killing your gut microbiome. It's killing your bacteria, just your whole ecosystem and your body. Then it came back.
No.
And I come back to the doctor, like, what is going on? I've spent so much freaking money at this doctor's office. I, just am paying out of pocket. And I was just like, okay, so what's going on here? And they were like, okay, well, we don't have an option. We're going to put you on the strongest antibiotics that we can. And don't do anything strenuous because it can cause tendons to rupture.
Oh my goodness, you're crazy.
And it can cause your kidney to fail. And so here I am just freaking chugging water.
Okay.
Freaking out, getting anxiety, like
just doing nothing.
My
just sitting
brain
there.
isn't working anymore. I'm just getting this brain fog. I'm so confused on what I need to be eating because you're supposed to be eating full meals when you're on antibiotics. And I was going through it. Like I was trying to work and I couldn't work because how can you when your brain and your body is just failing and just fighting against you? It's like, I have things to do here and my body's not working.
Yeah.
So the breaking point for me was I was staying at my friend Patricia's and I actually did a shoot that night. I don't know how I did that, but it was really to get my mind off things because I was like, I need to do something to distract myself or I'm going to have an anxiety attack. And so somehow I pulled it together and did that. And then that night I had this feeling like, okay, this pill right now, this is my breaking point. And I know it because it's going to hurt me. I feel it hurting my body. So I took the last antibiotics that I took and I went to bed that night and I woke up in cold sweats. My kidney was killing me. My joints were just crippling up. I felt like I had arthritis. And I went into the bathroom and like thought I was gonna be sick, but it wasn't. I couldn't tell why. And so I was just like sitting on my friend's bathroom floor just, okay, God, what's going on? And so I had a dream that night, and I really have these dreams where I think that someone's trying to tell me something, but in my dream, I was sick by the toilet at my parents' house, which I have a very strong memory of that time. And there was this voice that was like, stop taking that right now. It's going to kill you. So I woke up and I was like, okay, I need to figure this out holistically. And this is how I got through any of my health problems before was the holistic route. So I woke up and turned to TikTok. And TikTok was like,
there you go.
There was this girl who had the same story as me that was like, she was on antibiotics 3 times and she found all the supplements from all these different videos. She did like a bunch of research. And so I ran to Sprouts, like as soon as they opened, got all these supplements, like D-mannose is a really good one for UTIs I've found. It's a great alternative to antibiotics because it actually lines your bladder and stops the bacteria from forming. So
at this point, did you still have your birth control implant in?
So moving into your experience with birth control, what made you decide to go off of it? How did you feel after going off?
I had the Nexplanon in my arm. I've had it since I was 15 years old. So,
Yeah.
And what I really noticed about that, I got it out, a month ago now, maybe 2 months ago. I noticed my emotions have changed and just so many things feel more real to me now. I always thought that I had some trauma that held me back from feeling emotions. I think part of that is true, but another part of it is it's man-made hormones that's pumped through your body, and it's not you.
It's affecting all of the bodily processes that you go through, not just your reproductive system, but like your immunity, your mental clarity, your sharpness, all of these things. How did that play into you eventually removing it?
So the reason why I thought it was my birth control is because I was having weird muscle spasms and pain and numbness in my left arm, and that's where my birth control was, and my left side of my body. And I noticed my lymph nodes on my left side have always been really swollen. That's where my birth control is. So, was.
Yep.
So I messaged you and was like, I've been on antibiotics for a month and you're not alone. I'm trying to figure this out. And I mentioned birth control, and I didn't even know you had a podcast yet because it's just it was a new relationship. And on my way to get my birth control removed, I was listening to your podcast and was like, this is really eye-opening. I didn't know that it was man-made. And I probably knew that, but I didn't really think about it too much. I just am like, okay, I'm not going to get pregnant.
Yeah, because when we're put on birth control, we actually don't really know what our hormones do, right? We're just like, oh, this is going to prevent pregnancy. That's it. Or anything else that they tell you. It's going to help you with acne. Okay, it's going to help you, for some people, lose weight, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever it might be, but we don't actually know what our hormones do on a daily and monthly basis, so we don't actually think about what does that birth control do for us to halt all those processes, right? It actually takes away from our naturally occurring hormones.
Yeah, exactly. So I got my birth control out, and I don't know. There was something so interesting about that because it felt like freedom to me.
Does it hurt to get it taken out?
No, because they numb it. Okay. And the people, I'm grateful because before with the Nexplanon, your body starts kind of adapting to it. So they have to cut it out of your arm. So this time it was a lot more seamless than the time I've done it before. So I was really grateful for that. And I left just like, you know what, this is cool. And even if this doesn't have anything to do with what's going in my body, I'm sure it had some part of it. But either way, I want this to be my body, no one controlling me. I don't want any sort of interruption with my hormones, with my life, with my emotions. So taking it out was like, okay, this is me. And I felt very free about that. And I thought that was really just it was cool. So, but then, I moved out of my apartment, and I guess the way I was living, I was just so distracted by so many things. I couldn't really tune into my body. And so as soon as I moved into my new place, which I absolutely love, I live by myself and it's amazing. I love the community. I started listening to my body a lot more. I was able to listen to my body. So I actually drank a cup of coffee and I put honey in it, and I felt like crazy brain fog. I felt the twitches in my legs. I felt the swelling. I was like, this is sugar. What is this? Why am I getting this? And so I got some urine and blood work done, and they told me I have candida overgrowth. Okay. So everyone has candida in their body, so it's also related to fungal, but sometimes it can overgrow. And for me, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, antibiotics make a great environment for it to overgrow.
Absolutely. I think in college, so I was in a sorority. I was getting sinus infections all the time. I was taking antibiotics to get rid of them. And then I got UTIs my senior year, taking antibiotics. I was drinking. And then now I've healed myself holistically, but then I quit drinking again. And my body, if I have any sort of, I guess, sugar or anything that might be controversial to my gut microbiome, my body's rejecting it because I've become more holistic in my health. And so I think my body detects sugar or alcohol as bad and my gut microbiome is honestly, it's destroyed, and that's why this is happening. And so I quit eating sugar. I didn't even have to quit alcohol because I already did, but none at all. And I feel so much better. And I'm just so grateful that I know what it is. And I'm grateful that this whole thing happened because it forced me to get off my birth control. I went to an acupuncturist. Her name is Gilly. She's amazing. She's in Encinitas. She told me, sometimes these things happen and they make you do things like take out your birth control. And this is huge. This is a huge step in the right direction. And so that session with her, it was insane. So she's an acupuncturist and a nutritionist and a spiritual healer. And she's an energy healer. And when I was getting it done, I felt this dark energy come off of my body. It was crazy. I started crying and I walked out of there with this, it felt like my voice changed. It was crazy. And I was like, you know what? This is my healing era, and whatever's in my body it's on its way out. And I also feel like it's such divine timing because I can't drink if I wanted to. I am forced to a different life trajectory now. I'm forced to understand what kind of food has sugar in it. Like you wouldn't even realize. Like I had cold smoked salmon the other day and just had a total flare up. And I was like, oh, this is made with sugar. Okay. I had no idea.
Wow.
Starch turns into sugar. So if you're eating tapioca or, anything,
It's kind of crazy because alcohol, right? The reason why most people use it is to not have to be present. But now this lifestyle that you're living, especially with, trying to keep candida at bay and what you just went through with the antibiotics, it's literally the exact opposite. You have to present and see what's going on with your body and see every single reaction of what you give it. It's how it does in your body. And
exactly.
You can't use alcohol to just take your attention off these things anymore. You have to be super present with the things in your life. So, but at the end of the day, like how much better of a result, right?
Yeah. And it's one of those things
you feel.
Where I was like, why is this happening to me? I felt like I was living in hell. I was like, my body every single day, my mind, just, antibiotics puts terrible thoughts in your brain.
Yeah, for no reason.
It's
like
crazy. It's crazy. And I was struggling in so many aspects of my life because my body was not okay and my mind, just everything's attached. So I felt like a victim of it at first. And now I feel like it's such a blessing because I really have to clean up my diet. I don't have any choice but to eat healthy. And the Candida diet actually consists of non-starchy vegetables. So basically leafy greens. I eat a lot of celery. Celery helps a lot.
I was going to say, definitely get into your diet because the listeners are going to want to know, okay, like how did she actually change her lifestyle? Like what are the things that can also give them ideas? So like what have you been eating?
Yeah, so it's trial and error. Here's the thing is I'm still going through this. But I feel like I'm getting a better grip on it. Eating out has been really challenging because you never know what they make with things. I'll ask if something has sugar in it. They'll say no. And then I'll immediately start getting a flare up. Like, yes, there is sugar in it. And so my diet consists of, I eat typically Greek plain yogurt. So I can eat dairy. I don't drink milk or anything, but I'll eat Greek yogurt because it's really high in pre and probiotics. There's certain kinds you can get at
Do you get
Sprouts.
non-dairy Greek yogurt or just regular Greek
So
yogurt?
it's funny, actually. I tried non-dairy Greek yogurt and had the biggest flare up ever.
Okay, interesting.
Because it had starch in it.
Oh, I see.
But there's different ones. But the thing about dairy yogurt, it has so much protein in it. And I am lactose intolerant. If I drink a glass of milk, I'm going to feel terrible. But if make a little yogurt with seeds and nuts and almond butter.
It must be like the probiotics in it that don't cause a reaction as much, right? Rather than drinking something that has all of the organisms in it killed off.
Yeah. There's something about yogurt that it makes me feel good. So I'll eat typically yogurt in the morning. Sometimes I'll even fast because I'll wake up with brain fog. So like even fasting will help me. So I eat my staples. I go to the grocery store. I quit drinking coffee for a little bit because just to build that microbiome back. I was drinking mushroom tea. It was the closest thing I could find to coffee. So you can get mud water or Rise, or there's this really good brand at Sprouts. It's called Ticino, so TEECCINO, mushroom herbal tea. That has been a huge lifesaver for me.
Does it give you energy?
No, it doesn't have any caffeine in it, but there's adaptogen mushrooms in it, so it adapts to whatever your body needs, and it was like a replacement for me. So drinking warm liquid in the morning just feels good. And I know it's not destroying my gut. So it's just that much better. It gave me clarity, and it was just a good replacement. I could dress it up with real spices like cloves and nutmeg.
Creamer or anything like that.
No.
Because that has so much sugars in it.
So that has really helped me. So yeah, I'd say I can't eat peanuts, pistachios, or cashews because they're more prone to contain mold. And mold feeds on candida. So in general, I can eat macadamia nuts, walnuts, almonds. I eat a lot of seeds.
How can we tell if they contain mold?
It's not visible to the eye. They typically do contain mold, actually. I've done a lot of research about this recently. So yeah, it's just kind of the manufacturer, it's just the way it is. Sure, on the science behind it, but I do know that, I can't eat peanuts or any of that. So I have to really clean up that. And then I eat a lot of celery, a lot of arugula. There's really good stuff at Trader Joe's, honestly, and Sprouts have been my two best friends. So there's this stuff called kohlrabi you can cook, and it's like pasta. I can't eat butternut squash, which is crazy. Because it has starch in it.
Oh, okay.
So I can't eat any sort of starchy vegetables because starch turns into sugar in your body. And even though, so if you don't have candida, that's fine. You can eat sweet potatoes and butternut squash. That's really good for you. But for me, I can't because it turns into sugar. And so I eat just very leafy greens, very, I love, there's this one, it's called sun butter. So it's sunflower butter. It actually fights against fungus in your body.
I'll have to look into that because I love sunflower seeds, so I would be obsessed with the sunflower butter.
It's so good. So that's been a staple for me. I put it on a lot of things. I put it in my yogurt. I put it on my celery. I dress that up with pumpkin spice and stuff like that.
So what keeps you full? What are you doing for your proteins? And are you not doing any carbohydrates or just avoiding the starches, which is basically everything?
So I know, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty intense. It's a pretty intense
Yeah,
diet.
but like what do you do? Let's say instead of do you eat rice? Is rice allowed? Or is rice starchy too?
Can't really eat rice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does that mean all grains are
I
basically
pretty much
out
can't
of the
eat
picture?
grains. I can eat quinoa. I just don't eat grains because in general, it just doesn't make me feel good. But vegetables, a lot of times they have carbs in them.
Yep.
And then nuts have carbs. Lower, but they do. And
Didn't you tell me tofu? You really like tofu?
I eat a lot of tofu. Salmon is really good. I can eat meat. I have found with eggs, they make me feel weird. So it's not just candida. I've noticed flare-ups when I eat eggs, but it's more, I think they're an inflammatory food, and it made my heart feel weird.
Yeah.
It made me feel slow, and I was like, how was I eating eggs every day before?
Yeah.
This is weird. So
it's kind of crazy how every single person, no matter what they grew up eating, they have to, in adulthood, figure out what works for them. Otherwise, they'll just be sick for the rest of their life. So, if this episode taught me anything, it's to take the time to be present with yourself, even if your body's freaking out and protesting. It's really trying to send you a message. And I just love that you're actively making the choices to not fall into what your family, or has been doing for generations, or what is the only thing that you've seen. Because a lot of people do stay in the comfort and familiarity of that.
Totally. Yeah.
But you're out here, you literally made the decision on your birthday to stop drinking. And yeah, I'm just proud of you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's a better lifestyle. I feel so much more clarity. I feel like my life isn't driven by ego anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a lot more realistic, although I love being unrealistic. I love dreaming. I'm such a dreamer. But
and it's not easy either. Here in San Diego, everything revolves around drinking. All of the events, social gatherings. So I think another added benefit to that is it gives you more time to look at what you want to do with the art, side, and like maybe look for more modeling opportunities. It just frees up the space to actually do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Kind of how, not really the same, but like when you're a kid and you just want to avoid an unpleasant situation, you just went downstairs and you were just drawing.
Totally. Yeah.
Well, now you can avoid the unpleasantness by either drinking and just turning to vices like everybody else is, or just being like, okay, existence is pain, but I can ease it with being in the flow of things that I really love.
Yeah, it's choosing your dopamine wisely.
Exactly.
Choosing it to something that's going to add value to your life and yourself and make you feel accomplished. Because if you're wasted, you're wasting your life.
And your money and your time, your resources. So thank you for coming on and sharing your story. And you guys can follow Andrea. She's at Andrea Wads on Instagram, DreaWads. So you can see some of her photos, her vibe, which I just love so much, and just follow along with her journey. She also posts really cool art. So
thank you so much, Andrea, for coming on and sharing your story and just being very vulnerable about, something that maybe a lot of people don't want to talk about is the patterns in their family that are unpleasant or destructive. But you really gave hope to a lot of the listeners that now they know that they can also take steps to change things in their family and just be that catalyst that I see that you are. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. You guys don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Stellar Cycles Pod. You can expect a new post every day, whether it's a soundbite of the podcast, a little infographic on the topic of the week, a lifestyle video, recommendations, things that we mention in these episodes, and also food reels every Friday. So phase-based little meals for you guys. So for the follicular phase, I show you how to make a smoothie, for example, or for the luteal phase, I'll show you how to make a salad. So all included foods from our grocery guide. So don't forget to also download the free grocery guide that we have for you. It's in the link in the bio. It'll just really help you figure out what to eat as you're going through each phase of your cycle. And please give us a 5-star rating if you enjoy this podcast. And if you're feeling extra generous, I love to read the reviews you girls leave for me. I would really appreciate the feedback. And until then, spread the good word about stellar cycles to your fellow women, and let's all elevate our lives, cycles, and dreams together. Till next time, Stellar Cycles out.